Hello everybody, this is Dumpster Cat. Welcome back to another Pioneer video. And this one we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to have sort of a quick deck presentation slash theory crafting video, where at least in this video I'm going to be presenting this black-green scam deck in Pioneer. As a lot of you may know, scam has been a very prevalent and very popular archetype, at least in Modern, where you have the evoke elementals. You're able to use cards like Malakir Rebirth, like Feign Death, where you're able to basically get 2 activations off of the evoke creatures and kind of cheat them into play in that effect. However, in Pioneer we don't have access to the evoke elementals, obviously. However, with the addition of Brothers War, we do get very, very powerful prototype cards, where if you're able to trade one of these creatures in play with one of your opponent's creatures, or if your opponent just kills one of these creatures and you have access to one of the 5 undying effects that we have that we're playing, you're able to actually the effect resolves, the kill effect resolves, and then you're able to put the bigger half of the card into play, as that's just the first half of the card, the vanilla half of the card, if you will. And that is a very, very powerful effect. Obviously, we know that in BGX midrange, or just in any midrange archetype in general, we really want to leverage efficiency and effectiveness, at least in our creatures, and our removal as well, but just for the sake of this conversation, especially in our creatures, and being able to buy back one of these very, very powerful creatures. Obviously, in green, we have access to Rootwire Amalgam as well, not as powerful as Fleshgorger, or not as powerful as some of the white prototypes that we have access to in Orzhov decks, Orzhov scam decks. Basically, just the concept of being able to pretty much just trade one of these cheap rebirth effects or undying effects with either one of your opponent's creatures, if you're able to trade in combat, or just one of your opponent's removal spells, is very, very powerful, especially considering that you're gonna get an upgrade, at least if you cast the prototype half the card. You're going to get an upgrade, as the Amalgam in this case is going to be a 5/5 with the effect already. The Fleshgorger will turn into a 7/5, which is really, really effective, really, really powerful. And then, we're just coupling this alongside all of our already good cards, such as Graveyard Trespasser. Works surprisingly very, very well alongside the Undying effects. Being able to get the ETB trigger again is very, very powerful, and then just being able to kind of force your opponent into 2-for-1ing themselves again if they want to get rid of it, at least if they've used a removal spell, is really, really backbreaking, especially if you're playing against an opposing midrange deck such as Rakdos. Even good against like Phoenix, stuff like this, or even Greasefang, where the opponent is relying upon their graveyard, relying upon leveraging very, very efficient removal spells, which, as we know, is basically just the whole Pioneer format in general. Everybody wants to be leveraging their efficient spells. The prototype cards also work very, very well alongside Grimflayer. I have found, being artifacts and creatures, they grow Grimflayer quite a bit, and then just being able to buy back a Grimflayer that's obviously, as we know, traded or died just from an opponent's removal spells with one of our undying effects is quite powerful, as it's just a very efficient creature. And we're able to also flex some pretty interesting tech, at least here in the form of Ravenous Chupacabra. A very, very powerful card. Has always been on my radar in black-green midrange, but just not quite powerful enough, as the body's not that big, 4 mana is quite a lot, and the effect is kind of not what you would think it would be, at least in terms of power level. However, paired alongside the Undying effects, it's going to be very, very powerful. Getting just extra 1 potential off this card is going to be really, really insane. And although cards like this may seem a bit underpowered at first glance, obviously, as I said, paired alongside the Undying effects, I think they make a pretty nice fit, especially when we're already playing such efficient creatures such as Trespasser and Fleshgorger, and even Rootwire Amalgam to a lesser extent. And all of that just coupled with the already very, very powerful and very efficient spells that we have access to in the black and green colors in Pioneer, I feel like provides a pretty nice archetype, pretty nice build, where of course we're leveraging very, very efficient removal spells such as Trophy Decay, Fatal Push, nice interaction in the form of Thoughtseize, very, very efficient creatures in the form of Scavenging Ooze, just great in the format right now, especially against Phoenix, Mono Green, Greasefang. And then the aforementioned Grimflayer just kind of gets boosted alongside the prototype creatures. However, it is worth noting the downsides of a deck like this. Obviously, if we don't have the prototype cards alongside the Undying effects, we're going to be in a bit of a tough case. Less so in the form of Flesh Gorger, as this is just already a very, very powerful creature. And just the upside of being able to cheat in the 7/5 half is just, gravy on top. However, in the case of Rootwire Amalgam, as this creature is a bit underpowered, at least when compared to Flesh Gorger or even Trespasser, if we do not have access to an Undying effect when this creature gets removed by the opponent, or simply traded in combat, it's not going to be too nice for us, too impactful for us, and so that's going to be the main downside, and just the downside of having a clunkiness in the form of these Undying effects, where we may not even have creatures in play that we want to be buying back. We are playing 19 creatures, which is a bit more than I would usually play on average in a black-green midrange archetype. So, there's that aspect of it, and that positive. However, just in midrange in general, you always come across the wrong half of the deck predicament, where your either removal spells don't line up, your creatures don't line up, or even in the case of this archetype, we have the added kind of downside of our prototype creatures, or just our creatures in general that we want to get value off, do not line up alongside our Undying effects if we do not draw them, obviously. Besides that, though, I feel like this type of theory could be pretty good for the black-green midrange archetype, at least in Pioneer. We see that Rakdos is obviously the best midrange deck in the format, and in our underpowered black-green colors in the format, we really kind of need something else, just something that's very, very, I guess, different or just powerful in general. We don't have access to cards like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or even Kroxa to a lesser extent, and so I feel like, at least, this is all theory, of course, but at least in this example, cheating the prototypes into play could be pretty effective, at least in just kind of going bigger than the opponent and having just increasing value as the game goes on, which black-green can struggle with, especially when paired against a deck like Mono Green or, of course, Rakdos. So I think this type of scam archetype or theory could be pretty beneficial to the lack of black-green's late game inevitability and just overall efficiency and effectiveness. But of course, this is all theory, this is just speculation. Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think of the list. Let me know if you want to see gameplay for this list, as I would love to get into a league with this deck and see really its power level, and see if it is really effective or really worth further testing, as I haven't seen anybody else do a black-green scam list, at least in Pioneer. Definitely seen, obviously, the Orzhov lists in Pioneer, but I just kind of wanted to give my take on black-green, as that's my specialty, and I just love playing around with the colors. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Obviously, as I said, let me know what you think of the list, of the video, of this video style in general. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.